All right, so some absolutely wild news today about Cyberpunk. Check out the headline right here. Cyberpunk's most incredible feat yet. The open world RPG just surpassed one of the biggest games ever. We're going to talk about what this game is and how important this is to Cyberpunk's future and what CD Projekt RED could ultimately do to capitalize on what is going on right now with Cyberpunk. Plus, yeah, CD Projekt RED responds to recent milestones and they aren't taking this for granted. Let's see what they can do with Phantom Liberty. I have high hopes for that one. And also, is this a tease to more Cyberpunk anime? Will we actually be getting a season 2 of Edgerunners? We're getting a season 2 of like Arcane. Why not Edgerunners? I would love to see that happen since it's been such an immense success. Maybe Netflix will greenlight something like that. We're going to talk about some of the official teases as to more Cyberpunk anime because it seems like something will be happening. Now, also, we got to talk about this one right here. New players who are discovering lingering issues in Night City. Cyberpunk's romance options need improvement. We're going to dive into a very fascinating article about this one. But first, we got to talk about this right here. Check it out. We hit 100,000 24-hour peak concurrent players on Steam for Cyberpunk 2077. By far the most discussed thing going on right now about Cyberpunk. And get this, Cyberpunk beats The Witcher 3's peak player record. Cyberpunk is breaking Witcher 3 records 2 years after launch. Now, I have an actual update to the concurrent numbers. We actually hit 122,000 concurrent players for the 24-hour peak on Cyberpunk 2077 on Steam. These aren't even numbers for consoles, of course, which I guess, according to CD Projekt RED, those numbers are absolutely insane as well. But if we compare it to the exact number, the peak number for The Witcher 3 when it basically released, when it was at the height of its popularity, check this out. It hit 103,000 all-time peak 3 years ago. This is insane. It's almost as if CD Projekt RED just released an entirely new AAA game without having to release an entirely new AAA game. We've only seen this with basically one other franchise like GTA. So it's telling me that this franchise is having major staying power. And honestly, we haven't seen an anime influence gaming like this, except for maybe Arcane. But yeah, it's definitely on the level of Arcane right now. And I think we deserve another season of Edgerunners and another expanded pack. I'm just saying. All right, so let's get some more reactions from CD Projekt RED because you guys know that this company has been through hell, especially the developers that weren't in control of releasing the game when they did release the game. So we have Hal Sasko, who says this: not taking a single one of you for granted, who has decided to give Cyberpunk a chance. Crying emoticon. You could feel the emotion in his post. He streams the game often and he's extremely passionate about Cyberpunk 2077, currently working on the expansion. Then we have Miles Toss. He says, this is just incredible. Thank you all so much. Heart emoticon. So yeah, a lot of the developers are coming out here saying thank you. And you can just feel the emotion here. We have Kuba who says this: it's still hard to believe, not gonna lie. The whole Cyberpunk revival makes me a bit emotional. We've worked ultra hard on this game, and then instead of feeling happy, we were simply ashamed. All the sacrifice for nothing. So this turnaround is special. Kudos to the team. Yeah, so I'm thrilled to see this. I never ever want to see a company go under or have layoffs, especially when it comes to like CD Projekt RED. We love and adore them. Patrick K. Mills said this as well: super pleased to see so many people coming to Night City, both those returning, those on their first visit. Hope everyone enjoys their stay. Yes, absolutely. And you know what? I want to stay forever in Night City, to be honest with you. I want more expansions. Then we have Cole Walder from CD Projekt RED says, wow, just wow. Thank you to everyone spinning it up and taking a ride to Night City. Way to make my weekend. Hell yes. But yeah, you know, everyone is talking about, you know, of course, the success, but also what is CD Projekt RED really going to do about it? How are they going to capitalize on it? And we have this right here. See, CD Projekt RED, we are worth more than one expansion, please. And this is the assessment that I'm seeing over and over again from the community. We have Yaberling who says this as well: I absolutely get their arguments, the sales, the financial part, the engine. I'd be okay with one big expansion and the occasional trickle of small incremental patches, since they did make good steps with each one. But the heart wants what the heart wants. And the heart wants more expansions. I thought that was perfectly said, because that's what I'm feeling right now. My heart wants like infinite content for this game. Give us like expansion number 34, you know what I mean? I know that's probably not going to happen. Officially, CD Projekt RED has said that they are making one major expansion. Now, we did have a lot of you guys talking about this more recently. Machiavelli Now says this: for those who don't know, The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine expansion was like an own separate level of a game. And naturally, my expectation from Phantom Liberty expansion is high. If CD Projekt RED makes this expansion as big as Blood and Wine, it would be absolute win. Blood and Wine, like a sequel to The Witcher 3 main story and retirement of Geralt's story. So I guess that's what a lot of you guys are expecting. What we have heard officially from CD Projekt RED recently about Phantom Liberty, the expansion coming to Cyberpunk 2077 in 2023, is that yes, it is a major, significant expansion, that they are going all in with this experience. And by the trailer, you can kind of pick up on this. And what is fascinating is it's going to be new gen only, which is PS5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC. It's not going to be held back by old gen whatsoever, which gets me personally excited. And I know it's bittersweet for those of you that are also, of course, stuck on old gen consoles. All right, so let's keep going. This was well said right here. This comes from Benji Sells. He says, big next step for CD Projekt is to ensure that the Cyberpunk expansion Phantom Liberty launches in a great state next year. They've earned a lot of goodwill recently, and the anime game is bringing a major resurgence. If they nail it, the IP is headed back in a strong direction. Absolutely, they cannot have missteps here whatsoever with Phantom Liberty. That's what I'm kind of paranoid about, considering, of course, the launch of Cyberpunk. We'll see how it goes. Now, Benji goes on to say this: they absolutely can't afford to have another launch fiasco, so they need to take all the time it takes to make sure day one quality is there. That said, I'm sure management is well aware of that, and I think they won't rush this. Dropping last-gen consoles should also help a lot. And that's why I also think they don't have a firm release date for anything. They don't want to disappoint you, overhype anything, and feel like they are rushing out the door. And CD Projekt RED has said recently that they are listening to their developers when it comes to release dates, as opposed to board members and investors. They're going to their developers and saying, hey, are you comfortable with releasing this? And if they aren't, guess what? They're not going to force a release anymore. And that is the smartest thing they can do with Phantom Liberty for sure. And you know what's going to help Phantom Liberty big time? This right here. Check it out. So Cyberpunk 2077 is 50% off basically on GOG, Steam, everywhere you can find it right now. And I think that's absolutely genius. They are growing the base audience of Cyberpunk right now. Everyone's going to have it installed on their hard drives, ready to go. And then they're going to be all excited for Edgerunners, play this game forever. I don't know how long they're going to play it. And then, of course, Phantom Liberty will come around, and you're going to have a sizable audience just waiting to eat up that content. So I think their tactics right now are genius, and they're headed in the right direction for sure. All right, so mentioning Edgerunners, we got to talk about this one right here. Check it out. It says, very first, hope we get more stories out of Night City. And he's highlighting an official post about Edgerunners content in Cyberpunk 2077, which alludes to the fact that we might be getting more anime from Cyberpunk 2077. Check it out. It says, what's new in the Edgerunners update? It says, create your own Cyberpunk style with wardrobe, a clothing transmog system, equip yourself with fresh weapons. Let me see if I can zoom this in further. And gear, take on new gigs, and enjoy a selection of premium goodies taken straight from our very first anime, Cyberpunk Edgerunners. This wordage here indicates that perhaps that they want to dive back into more Edgerunners. We'll have to see. I'm hoping that we get an official announcement. I think Netflix would have to greenlight something like that, of course. But, you know, we've already going to be seeing Arcane Season 2. Cannot freaking wait for that, by the way. But yes, I think we deserve a Season 2 of Edgerunners. Can you imagine what they can do with that? I'm not going to theorize anything at all right now, just in case if you have not finished Edgerunners, which, by the way, if you haven't, what is wrong with you? Get on it. All right, so we're going to talk about some of the lingering issues that newcomers to Night City are basically stumbling into and facing, and they need to be addressed for sure going forward, considering the success of this game. Check it out. Some bad news about Pan Am and Judy romances for new Cyberpunk players. So what in the world is going on? This comes from Forbes. Goes on to say this right here. Yesterday, I read that as a new flood of players make their way through Cyberpunk, one of IGN's busiest pages right now is their Pan Am romance guide, indicating a lot of players all have the same designs on Cyberpunk's most enigmatic NPC. As you can see, it's highlighted right here. So a lot of you are trying to romance Pan Am right now. Let's see if you can get it done. Now, it says right here, but many new players are about to run into an old problem, and one thing that Cyberpunk did not do well, I would argue, even as all these other improvements have been made over time. There were no fixes to this decision, and I don't think that was a good one. Furthermore, the article goes on to say this right here. Cyberpunk is a very, very clear idea of who they want romancing who in the game, and options are essentially limited to one NPC, depending on your V's gender and the preference you want them to have. Furthermore, it goes on to say basically what romance options are available to what characters. As you can see, it's somewhat limited or very limited, of course. Now, there's some controversy around this, and some of you think they need to open up the choices. Sound off. Let me know what you make of this, or do you think that characters should basically stay who they are no matter what, that they should keep their personality and, yeah, go in that direction with it? Which, by the way, if they take that direction, it just means that, in my opinion, Cyberpunk ends up being more replayable if you play it a second time, third time. Of course, but you'd have to start an entirely new character, and that is also a problem for New Game Plus, because as it is right now, you can't like change your gender right now, from what I can tell in the game. You can change your actual appearance and things like that. They finally added that into the game, but yeah, sound off if you think that this needs to be improved with further adjustments with the patch or something like that. All right, so something that I've noticed is that Cyberpunk right now is running pretty good, but there are also some new problems since the recent update, and I hope that they come out with a hot fix for this. Let me know if you're experiencing this on PC. The Cyberpunk update 1.6 memory leak, lower performer after an hour or so. Did someone experience the same problem when after some time the game is sluggish and starts stuttering or something like that? Most visible when using the Karashi scanner to hack things. And I've noticed some oddities with that, like it runs a little bit rougher since the update, but it's not like significantly noticeable, and it's like, oh, this is unplayable. But usually they do have some issues with this. It has happened before, and they quickly do a hot fix to adjust and to fix memory leaks. So just keep that in mind if you are dealing with that. I would expect some sort of hot fix or something like that out for sure. All right, so let's keep going. It's time to go over your top comments from my most recent video, which I thought was a pretty interesting discussion here. And there were some actually really cool reveals about it. Check it out. It says, big reveals, Cyber Psychos, V versus David from Edgerunners, CD Projekt's new updates, and we got some insights into how Cyber Psychos actually work, because I guess a lot of the community is getting it wrong. Check out that video if you missed it, by the way, because yes, absolutely fascinating stuff going on with Cyber Psychos. All right, so here's the first comment from Theodore, who says this: V killed Atom Smasher, so logically he is more powerful than David, but the anime has a more bombastic way of showing the implant's power, so it's understandable why people would say David. Both are good people in the wrong city. I love that. Both are good people in the wrong city. Absolutely, and I do agree that V is more powerful than David, of course, but I thought it was an interesting discussion. And yes, let's keep going. Also, you mentioned, that's what I wanted to say, you mentioned that they had a more bombastic way of showing the implants. I want that, like, in the game more, you know? It's so much more intense in the anime how they represent all of the powers that you get, and I would love to see more over-the-top gameplay in Cyberpunk 2077. All right, Big Man Assassin says this: V is clearly more powerful. She could handle multiple cyberware at once and see a bunch of messed up things throughout the game without going cyber psycho, while having a chip messing with his or her head, and able to kill Atom Smasher with any weapon. Yeah, the Atom Smasher part, definitely makes V much more powerful. Then we have Beldhan, who says, depending on the build, V can decimate tons of guys before they can even react, bring them into Tsushima in no time, or be a net runner that can rival the best of Night City. You can literally decimate the whole army with this hack. The only moment David did get close to a V capacity is at the end, and he was equipped with the top of the shelf military equipment. I often see people say Adam is too weak in the game, but it's V that is insanely strong in the game. I have my own take about that. I personally think, just hear me out, that I think the bosses need a complete overhaul. Some of them, you know, I feel like the gameplay just isn't there, and they definitely need to overhaul some of these bosses going forward to make it more entertaining. Can you imagine a boss overhaul update? I think that would be so cool. Now, Tony says this right here. V defeated Smasher and is pretty much OP by the end of Cyberpunk. He's clearly stronger and miles ahead. So a lot of opinions, but yes, V is more powerful for sure. Then we have Sheer, who says this. David is versus V, excuse me, isn't really a question of martial strength in my opinion. Look at both characters at the end of their character arcs when they are at their strongest. David is barely holding on to the last shreds of his humanity. He is insanely strong, but doesn't have the mental capacity to use that strength to its full potential. Now, V, on the other hand, let's assume this is V who reconciled with Johnny and unlocked the Don't Fear the Reaper ending, has mental fortitude, confidence, their best friend at their side, well, metaphorically, and with only hours left to live, nothing to lose. V is at their absolute peak in that moment, fighting smartly and efficiently, whilst David is more like a rabid dog thrashing at anything that moves. I thought that was so well said for sure. All right, so there it is, the latest happenings around Cyberpunk 2077. Thank you all so much for the comments. A lot of V versus David comments, and yes, it's cool to know that cyber psychosis is a lot more than just the cyberware itself. I thought that was an interesting story arc. I really think they could make this into a fascinating gameplay mechanic. I'm serious. They could do so much with cyber psychosis, and I have an opinion on how they can actually capitalize on that, perhaps in Cyberpunk 2. But that's like an entirely different video. So maybe I'll touch base on that someday in a video. But thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Cyberpunk 2077 news and updates. I have you guys covered also about anything Edgerunners Season 2. If I hear anything, yes, I will definitely be letting you know. But also, you got to remember that we have other games coming up here in 2023 and even 2022. I hope to get on with Starfield. Get on board with that one and talk more about Starfield, because it's going to have a lot of Cyberpunk stuff in there, which gets me excited. Anyway, there it is. Latest happenings around the game. And stay tuned for more open world gaming goodness. And I will see you all next time. Take care.